at giving clarity, balance, and setting the right agenda for societal change. To join the conversation live, when the lines are opened, you may want to save these numbers now. These are the studio numbers: 070-322-77338, 070-322-77338, or 090-9555-1039, 090-9555-1039. You can also reach us with SMS and WhatsApp messages through those numbers. We are actively online, streaming live indeed. This episode is being streamed live as we unfold it on www.facebook.com/LawFM Radio. Facebook.com/LawFM Radio. On Instagram, we are at LawFM Radio. Our Twitter handle is at LawFM_radio. You can also listen live anywhere in the world at www.lawfmng.com. www.lawfmng.com. My name is Gbola Oba. I'm also available on social media at www.facebook.com/Gbola.Oba, facebook.com/Gbola.Oba, Instagram at Gbola_Oba, Twitter handle at Gbola Oba. The Nigerian proverb for today says, success and 90% sweat. Success is 10% ability and 90% sweat. Summary analysis of some of today's major news headlines. Sacked Osun local government chairs, councillors to remain in office. Sacked Osun local government chairs and councillors to remain in office. This should teach some lessons to many of those who just think that once you've won an executive office and you are not in control of the legislature, you could run roughshod over a polity. As it is in Nigeria, the presidential system of government is such that there are three receptacles of power: the executive arm, the legislative arm, and the judiciary. And we see what is unfolding in Osun now. The governor is gradually being captured by a legislature, the House of Assembly, that is predominantly controlled by the opposition party. But we don't have time for that now. APC targets 5 billion naira donation with presidential crowdfunding app. Very unfortunate that for weeks on end, the picture of another person was used to promote. This is where we wrap it for the segment. When we come back, we do our literary intro and formally introduce our guest, who is sitting pretty, literally sitting pretty in our studio as we speak. See you after the commercials.
When you listen to this station, you learn about your rights. You discover the law in ways you never imagined. You know why? Because we broadcast in your interest.
It's a problem that we are all experiencing in the country. Different parts of the country, the same thing is happening. So who do we call on to? Who do we hold responsible?
We impact knowledge.
If the grid is unable to shed the load that it ought to, it could also result in the collapse of the national grid.
Call it what you may, but we are here to stay. The law was never biased, so why should it be now? To every individual, we are Law FM 103.9.
There are no regional electricity boards.
Hey, for Bobby. It's only your product that we are just hearing on radio in the morning, afternoon, night, 3 times every day. What have you done?
Ashewajum, calm down. It is not what you think. Now Law FM 9 carry this Obonga promo sample loss so Koro eyes. Them talk say with 20,000 naira.
Yeah?
Just 20,000 naira. They will play your advert 3 times every day for 3 weeks.
3 times every day for 3 weeks. Your buruku, you are a bad person. You cannot tell me.
Hey, why better control people? Them say I wolf the punch belly. This one not the punch belly. They make belly sweet. Now Law FM they don't carry so bonga one. Come sample us Koro eyes. Them talk say with just 20,000 naira. Just 20,000 naira. They go play your advert. Them go promote your business 3 times every day for 3 weeks. Ogami, this promo go start for November 9 and they go end for November 30th. For more information, make you call 0916 1022 372. I go call them again 0916 1022 372. Law FM 103.9 hour promo. This Ogbonge promo what we dey do so. Now for small businesses only. Terms and conditions apply. Don't miss out. For knowledge and entertainment, what do you dey wait for? We are call the radio station now. Make we promote your business.
This is Nigeria's number 1 law radio station. 103.9.
Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9.
Welcome back to Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9. As we usually do, we will do a little reading of the person we have as our guest or something that puts in context the reason why he is guesting on the show today. Our guest today comes from a lineage of Lagosians with innovative strides in the professions, one of whom was born on 2nd July 1928 in Lagos. One of the members of his lineage attended the CMS Grammar School, Lagos in 1946, obtained the first grade senior Cambridge certificate with exemption from London matriculation. In 1949, he went to London where he gained experience in general insurance at the Royal Exchange, London. He was the first African to pass the examination to become an associate of the Chartered Insurance Institute, London in 1951. Another was a renowned lawyer, activist and founder of the Nigerian Advanced Party, NAP, in the Second Republic. Our guest himself is the co-founder and managing director at Koso Communications Limited and specializes in growing corporate revenue through creating and leading high-performance customer service teams. He is also an expert in change management and telecommunications. Mr. Alinwunmi Braithwaite, the 2023 governorship candidate of the National Rescue Party, NRM, good day and welcome to Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oba. Thank you for having me.
Quite a pleasure to have you in our studios. Doing our research on you, we noticed that NRM is like it's like the last touch in this cycle of politicking for you. You were more prominent aspirant in the ADC. Why the crossover?
Let me say, first of all, thank you for having me once again, and good afternoon, Lagos and the world. You said this is being streamed all over. So it's a great privilege to have an opportunity to speak to folks out there. I guess I would start off by saying that the political system in Nigeria is broken. There's no gainsaying the fact that, in all honesty, one is really saddened by the evolution of our political space, and that search is an ongoing one. I did join the ADC when I just felt that it was important for some of us who've been living our professional lives to get involved in the political space. I was hoping really at that time to get involved in what I would call creating a new political tribe. I do hold the view that those of us that are newbies in politics really need to articulate values, be very, very aware of what values we stand for. And I always remind people that there were the established parties, and I took a conscious decision not to join any of the established parties for the simple reason that I do not believe that we do share the same ethos. And that was what led me, into a search for one of the smaller entities that I felt it would be a far more worthy activity to try to, engender and to propagate this value system and this ethos. Unfortunately, I guess I was a bit too radical, for my colleagues there, and I then felt that rather than stick around, like I said, I do know exactly what values.
You don't seem to me, ostensibly looking at you, don't seem to me to be a rabble-rousing communist. You're not wearing a red beret. You're not so radical meaning in this context, meaning you were too ideologically, or what?
Perhaps you could say that. I think that's actually a good way of putting it. Beneath this calm surface does lie, I guess, an unconventional spirit. I would describe myself as a contrarian, and I do, essentially believe that if we're going in a particular direction, then we need to really pursue it as best as we can. So a number of developments really, I do want to avoid trying to badmouth.
No, in so much as I wouldn't also want to encourage that contrarianism defines liberal democracy. Liberal democracy is supposed to be a society where adversarial ideas contest and compete to work out what ultimately will edify the body of humanity in society. So contrarianism isn't too much of a bad label.
Not bad at all. Absolutely.
But if I may ask you directly, what essentially is the ideology you commit to politically?
I would call it societism, which is basically a philosophy that looks at society as a cluster of different interests, and it speaks to the need for government to really participate in ensuring that people of different clusters do get a fair look, a fair shot at opportunities, whilst also recognizing the right of the individual to create wealth. So it, to a large extent, believes that there should be a symbiotic relationship between groups and individuals, and ultimately seek to achieve the common good for all.
Listening to you, I'm thinking governments all over the world, irrespective of the ideological predisposition or definition they give themselves, governments all over the world literally function in that respect, balancing the needs of society at large with with making sure that those who are on the creative side are encouraged. So what's different from what prevails now? What would you do differently if you were to assume the executive governorship office of Lagos 29th May 2023? What would dramatically change? Now, okay, let's even reduce it to policy terms now. What would you do differently from the incumbent?
I would be driven by a mission of happiness. I take the view that government is established for the very purpose of making the citizens happy. And this was very well articulated by the ruler of Dubai, who said the purpose. I was going to say that you were almost taking me to Dubai without booking me a flight ticket. Absolutely. So it's very well stated, even for all the government staff, the civil servants are told that their job really is to bring about the happiness of the citizens. To a large extent, that is essentially missing in our context here. In fact, you can be forgiven for thinking that it's almost as if we hate ourselves in this country. Right from the time you get into the airport, the way people are treated, right on the streets, the way the police, accost citizens, and all the way into the government offices and the way...
How would you multiply yourself to the different levels and cadres of service and personnel to make an average Nigerian who has functioned with some dint of sadism suddenly I'm sorry to you took me there you took me there to suddenly have a poor line conversion and decides to be gentler, much more reasonable, much more accommodating to his or her fellow Nigerian with a view to creating a kumbaya society.
Very, very descriptive. Well, Nigerians were once described as the happiest people on earth. So it's not as if we're talking about aliens here. We're talking about people who largely have imbibed this essence of, you talk about the extended family system, you talk about the village community. We have had this aspect of our lives and our being that speaks to really helping one another. Suddenly all that has evaporated away, but it's there. It's essentially, I believe, in our DNA. So once you have inspirational leadership and leadership that really has that mission, when you were reading my profile, you did mention about being a change management expert. And in the things that I have done, I've gone into situations where it's been about taking the situation as it is and turning people around. It's really at the mental level that we do have to recognize that we're at the edge of a precipice, and it is important that we start to move back away from that, and we have to get into social re-engineering. It is important for our very existential survival that we turn away from where we are today. We let people recognize that it's not a zero-sum game that we need to play, but it's got to be a collective thing, that if we do it together. Right now, we have the worst record for children who are out of school in Lagos State. In Nigeria, for example, over 21 million children.
But Lagos State is not the leading state in that with that bad record. Most of the children out of school are in the northern part of the country.
Yes, most, but it is also not a good.
Not a very good. Oh yes, I must.
Yes, because we have over 2 million children in Lagos that are out of school. So it is something that one has to, really seriously bear in mind. It's not something that you want to necessarily be proud of. To say, oh well, look, I'm only at 2 million and others are at 5 million and what have you. For a place that is this cosmopolitan, that really has seen better days, that's not something that we must allow to continue to exist. You have too many people sleeping underneath the bridge. You have too many shanties coming up every day.
Okay, let's just stop there. This morning I was driving from Eric Moore Surulere to Festac, direction of Festac, and I saw that the blue line, the enormous infrastructure built to walk the blue line has now become a kind of, there is like a subterranean culture, people living under it. I don't know how to put it. Clothes spread, people sleeping, you could see, a debased humanity. And I was wondering, I have always known that all physical infrastructural assets in Lagos present a form of life for people who live like they lived in the catacomb of Rome. I'm wondering, what can somebody who becomes the governor of Lagos do? And if you could speak to specific measures do to transform these people from those who ordinarily would just live in that debased form and get dignified housing, what would you do?
Okay, so the Constitution prescribes that the purpose of government is to provide for the welfare
of
and
citizens.
Section 14, subsection.
The welfare and the security of the citizens.
B, says that the welfare. So the Constitution already prescribes that if you're going to have a government, if you're going to administer the people of this geographical space, then your primary aim, priority must be that everybody. But in section 16 of the Constitution, it talks about people must have food, livelihood, shelter. Now, all of these things are the basic rights.
But the Constitution does not make it justiciable. It's not. It cannot be litigated upon.
Yes,
and the Nigerian political class seem to believe that is there as
just there in writing. But so that's why people like me are standing up and saying, listen, it's not really about the letter of the law. It's about the spirit. Okay, that this thing touches on the morality of us as human beings, and it's not a priority. It's not been a priority. This is why when you have people disenfranchised, you get to a situation where nobody then cares anymore, because when you look at those people you described, sleeping underneath the structures and so forth, they have largely gotten into their minds, they've concluded that they're not a part of our humanity. And the Constitution speaks to the dignity of humanity. We have lost all sense of what the dignity of human beings.
But you will agree with me that one could have a heart as golden as yours. From your expressions, your manners, one could design a heart that is that golden. But you know what? Wishes are not horses. And these things have to be paid for. If affordable housing must be delivered, it has to be paid for. If affordable housing must be delivered, and you are even fortunate to have the powers to deliver it, you need skilled human beings to do it. Majority of our citizenry lack workable skills. But because the messages are coming in for you, let me put this. You may want to jot this down. Gbola, you didn't complete your sentence concerning the identity thief carried out by the APC presidential candidate. I wouldn't know how to complete that sentence, but we all know who stole, or whose team stole whose identity. And because I'm not related to the former Cross Rivers man, I cannot be litigating for him on here. For me, this mischievous act is enough reason why I can't vote for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So this person writes, the morning they say shows the day. We don't need a president that engaged in identity thief. I guess that's his grammar. No, not this time. Honestly, these are red flags, but unfortunately Nigerians don't think. Do our guests think Lagosians are ready to make a change in Lagos State, and what are his assurance that he will become the governor? Adegboyega Adedeji. Adegboyega, may I use this opportunity to implore you, when you want to send in your usually valued, appreciated messages, keep it simple. You always make like you're writing a book out of it. Okay, you're all yours. You want to respond to the latter part, or whichever side interests you?
Yes, I mean, they're all sort of combined. Now, we are at the point of history, and history needs to record us as people who woke up and realized that we can't continue the way we're going. Because if you talk about there not being enough money and whatever, well, it begs the question. Jack Conde was able to find money. He found the resources because the conviction was there. Because once you want to do something for the people, it becomes a question of priorities. We don't have all the money in the world. We don't have an inexhaustible purse. So what you do then is you prioritize. You say, hey, the people's happiness must definitely come as for. So when you have a human-facing government that really looks at the dignity of humanity, you know that therefore these things become imperative, that you must do them. So an Akin Braithwaite government would definitely take this on as imperative. It will be front and center. Because you see, if you don't deal with the existential issues, you might have an uprising. And you see, in other countries where they have the safety net, it's not just because they love the people, but they recognize that without a safety net, what you're going to do is that those who fall to the ground, when they get up, they're going to be getting up with a lot of anger and revenge. And that's what you find on our streets. People, in fact, if you build something today, you will see how they destroy it. There's some of these roads and stuff where you can actually see that there's wanton act of destruction going on. And the agencies themselves, the security agencies, also look the other way because they themselves feel disenfranchised. They're not getting enough money to take them home. So they don't feel any sense of having to protect what is the Commonwealth. Because unfortunately too, it's been the experience that what is meant to be our Commonwealth has been garnered by the few. Now, if less than 5% are taking charge and control of the Commonwealth and everybody is having to scurry around for survival, you will have the eyesore that you're speaking with. There won't be any law and order. So my first thing would be to really get people to understand and to be inspired that we all belong together and we will respect the dignity of all.
For those listening to us live, you want to ask direct questions from our guest, you have an opinion to give, the number to call 070-322-77338 070-322-77338 or 090-9555-1039. 090-9555-1039. Good evening, caller. Your name, please, and where you are calling from.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Queen Obia. I'm calling from Small London Hotel.
Small London Hotel, that will be on the Lekki Aja stretch, I want to believe?
No, it's at Selenizer bus stop along Agbara Road.
Okay. What's your question for our guest today?
So I want to appreciate him. He has a good motive. And secondly, I want to ask him, please, how can he get rid of all these area boys that is in making the price of our transportation in Lagos increasing daily?
Thank you.
Once they come out of the road, once they come to the road, start asking vehicles. You see some drivers running without carrying passengers. Some that are eager to carry, they increase the money. Like 3 days ago, I entered from Agbara to Selenizer, 300 naira. Here we used to enter 100, 150 because I saw some group of boys collecting money. And the price of the vehicle changed. So this is number one. When Amphode was governor of Lagos State, he did his best. In that Oshodi, he minimized them in many places. But now,
thank you very much, madam. Thank you. Let the gentleman respond to your questions. She has a couple there.
Did you catch her name?
To be honest with you.
Okay. All right, madam. Thank you very much for those comments. It's a very simple solution, really. Vote for Akin Braithwaite to be your governor, and you'll see that these things really are not problems that don't have an answer. You know, in nearby Oyo State, this is something that was dealt with because a lot of it has to do with the motives, the intentions. Why are they there? Who put them there? Who's allowing them to be there? Why are the police not stopping them? You know, all of these things. Why are they looking away? Because it's a racket, and when you have a racket like that that has the approval of the powers that be, that's why it will continue. But if you and others are truly tired of it, then that is enough motivation for you when you get to the ballot. First of all, to motivate you to go and vote. And then when you do get to the ballot, regardless of how they want to molest or whatever, you just vote correctly, because the good thing is this, is that, and I say to people that we need to have agenda politics from now on. You need to have a reason why you're voting. People will say to me, oh, I don't want to vote for that party because it's not going to win. That's not a reason to be voting. You're voting for an issue, for a cause. If the only thing that is bothering you is this area boys nuisance and the syndrome and whatever they're causing you, then that's a reason for you to vote. You don't vote for a party that you know is not going to do anything about the area boys. So you look for a party that says, yes, you know, I'm committed to doing this and I'm going to vote, and then it becomes the mandate for that party to do. So if you want to see this problem solved, then vote for Akin Braithwaite.
One of the organic baggage of pieces of baggage in a liberal democracy is the fact that ostensibly you look at the field of play and you ordinarily on the one hand would want to celebrate pluralism because there are so many candidates, and yet studies have shown from across the world that when pluralism is overpronounced, the incumbents tend to get away with murder. The only time that a national government has ever been defeated in Nigeria, it took the coalition, or indeed the merger, not coalition. It took the merger of about 4 parties or rumps, and so I'm sitting there thinking, In Lagos today, as much as somebody like that lady who just called feels there's a change, or the gentleman who sent in WhatsApp message feels there's a change, the number of those of you contesting may have dissipated the likely opportunity to defenestrate the incumbent, change the incumbent. What's the take on that?
First, I'll say well done and kudos to all those who have decided to come out. It's better to at least throw your hat in the ring than sit down on WhatsApp criticizing and pointing out what you think is wrong. So it's a very, very important aspect of democracy to come out, stand up, and speak for what you know is right. It's from that point onwards that you can now start talking about coalition, merger, as you speak of. But there must first of all be people who are standing up, articulating what they think is wrong, articulating what they think they can do better to help things to really, take shape. If you look at Israel, for example, and all the different parties that they have, there even some.
You don't really want to give me the example of Israel, because in the last 3 or 4,
Yes.
3 years, Israel has had 5 general elections, and yet the government is barely, as we speak, they don't even have a sitting government yet. They just have a party that is, they have a character that is trying to piece together, and because of what I described earlier on, they're tilting more in the direction of extremism. So I'm sitting there now thinking, to an average Lagos elector, as frustrated as that lady who called, can't you people, especially whose ideas are not too far from one another, can't you people?
It's an evolution. We are on a journey. Look at Israel that I spoke of. They've gotten to a point where they also still have to recognize the minority, that the minority also has a right, to their views. If you look at Great Britain, for example, they've had how many prime ministers in so many few years?
Concede got them. They had 3 prime ministers in 5 months.
There you go.
But concede got them into that.
Well, yes, but you could say that is also power to the people, at work, in the sense that they know that they must give the people
power to the partisans of the Conservative Party. When you have a situation where just less than 150,000 members of the Conservative Party,
they have an eye on the people. Because eventually, because what brought these things about? If you look at the arguments of the contenders to the seat, it was about, okay, I'm going to give a lump sum to people because of energy. The other one saying, no, I'm going to remove taxes so that people have more in their pay thing. But it was always centered around, how do you want to address the people's issues? So it's still got to be about the people. We have to come
we have a call for you, please. Sorry. Caller, your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Thank you for my talk. Good evening, Gbola Oba. Good evening, our guest, Akin Braithwaite. You were just talking of Israel and Britain. Now, I remember when Nigeria got our independence, we were using the kind of system they are using in both countries you mentioned.
Parliamentary system of government.
And yes, things were okay. Now, as a politician, don't you think that our major problem is the kind of system we are using? Because you talk of that one day, it was easy for them, because in 1979 we had elderly statesmen like Baba Awolowo, and that thing suddenly stopped. Even that year when that one day said we should come and buy that house for 1,000, a lot of people were condemning. But today now they realize that the 7,000 naira they will have paid is what was the cheapest so far. But today you need not less than 5 million to build just 2-bedroom flats, considering the inflation in the country.
Thank you. So thank you very much.
Can't we talk of structural change first? Thank you.
Thank you. You want to respond to that, please?
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point. I would even go so far as saying that we do need to restructure But where I would start with would be local government restructuring. I think that we need to come down to what is really truly local, and that really is one of my key agenda items. That if we truly want to see power belonging to the people, the power must belong to the people at the local level, at the proximate level. And the good thing is that this much maligned constitution still provides us with a very, very critical element there. The constitution guarantees the system of governance that is local government, and has also itemized the things that the local government will take care of. So if you bring governance down to the people, and the people are allowed to now take control, then the things that will happen, you will solve a lot of the major worries that are
when I hear politicians like you speak to, especially gubernatorial candidates, speak to local government autonomy, I tend to want to be a bit cynical by saying, oh, here he goes again, pandering to what he knows the people want, what he knows the people want to hear. But when eventually he assumes, but when eventually,
be about the people.
No, but when eventually he assumes office, then the megalomaniacal drive of an average politician, crops up, and you know what? They then start justifying it by saying Nigeria is the only aberrative federation on the face of the earth where the tiers of government are layered in three forms instead of the two form of the center and the federating unit. And now this element of local government, So how would you respond to such a cynical remark?
Well, I think that must come from people who really don't understand what administration is. And as somebody who's come from the corporate sector, I used to be the customer relations executive in MTN Communications. I don't know if you've heard of that company, but one of the biggest companies in that.
No, I've never heard of that company. That must be a Swahilian entity.
In Mars, right. And the only way that you can actually perform is by having divisions and layers that are closer to the subject matter and the issues. You can't run everything. There's what they call the span of control. For you to really have effective governance and for you to really bring about what are things that need to happen, there are the big ticket issues that state has to look after. It's got to look after the bridges, got to create all these coastal roads and all the big things, and you look at after the waterways and what have you. The other aspects that are very, very the minutiae of the things that need to be done if you truly want to see effective development and rapid development, societal development, coming back again to this philosophy of mine of societism, you have got to do it at the minute level, where you give the people their span of control. So they take care of the things. What's local government meant to take care of? It's meant to even register births, deaths. It's meant to look after markets. What's the state government doing looking after markets? It's meant to look after private.
The numbers to call, should you want to ask questions directly from Akin Braithwaite, the gubernatorial governorship candidate for the National Rescue Movement. I guess I'm right about that. NRM 2023 Lagos. The numbers are 070-322-77338. 070-322-77338 or 090-9555-1039. 090-9555-1039. We've got this call. Thank you very much for calling. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Okay, so my name is
Sheung, the background noise. Okay.
Presently, I'm in Afternoon. So, what I want to ask is, considering the fact that we have a lot of issues on ground in Lagos State, I want to ask the gubernatorial candidate for Lagos or for ARN. NRM. So, what, which of the sector will the candidate face in terms of the classification of functions of government? You know, we have 9. So, like, we have the health sector, education sector, we have general public sector. They are 9 in number. So, which of the sector do you think we need to face that we need to solve in Lagos?
Thank you very much. Thank you. You want to respond to that?
Thank you for that. Yes.
The secularization, I don't know where it came from. It's not quite from the constitution, but I guess it's a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
Too,
so, Sheung, what I would do really immediately would be facing the economy. It would be jobs. Really, within the very, very first couple of months, there is a burning issue right now. We have over 40% unemployment. And you cannot allow that state of affairs to exist, especially amongst the youth. We have the highest youth unemployment in the whole world. Now, I'm sure you would agree with me.
More than South Africans. We have another call for you, please. The calls are ramping in now. Caller, your name and where you are calling from, please.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. My governor to be.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you, sir, because you know, I'm calling from Lagos Island now.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
And your name, please.
Sonny.
Okay. Go ahead.
I want to ask you, sir. Okay. So, because of the problem we are having, that problem is like become hydra waiting. Hydra headed. Okay. So, see, this area boy, Aburu top. Lagos have been infected with Aburu and area boys, which harass people, everybody. Foreigners, they harass foreigners. Even the citizens themselves, they harass everybody. This time around, it's not about motor transporters harassing transport. This time around, it is harassing everybody. Nobody is taking records. This thing is one presidential candidate is saying they have made records. Lagos is started the foundation of Lagos. What is the foundation of Lagos? Lagos that I think is criminals. Nobody is taking records.
Sonny, thank you very much, Sonny.
You know what I'm talking about.
Let him respond to it. I can feel you. I feel you, Sonny. And you know why I'm feeling you, Sonny? As a business owner, today I drove to one of the businesses where I'm a director, and a tow vehicle just dropped a vehicle, and the tow vehicle was going out of the complex, and the guy had to run back and said some boys stopped him that he could not go out except he paid 2,000 naira. I literally walked in the rain. I'm still drying up. I literally walked in the rain and went to those boys. Me, Bonnie, where would that happen on the face of the earth? You boys that we even take care of because we feel bonded emotionally to you guys, and we create opportunities for you to bring your wives to work here, we bring your this thing and give them training. You want to be extorting people, and if I could feel it at that level, and they were begging, if I could feel it at that level, I can imagine how Sonny will feel or how the lady from Agbara will feel. But you know what, let's let the people who are at least amongst us desiring to solve the problem, let's let him.
Yes, Sonny, I do feel your pain, as Mr. Oba has also said, and I can say to you without really any fear of contradiction that I thank God for what I have achieved in life, and I am contented with where I am in life. But I think that one cannot continue to live life selfishly. There are a lot of people, I'm told.
I'm really sorry, sir. The calls are coming in. Let's take this. Okay. Caller, your name, please, and where you're calling from. Hello, caller. is hanging. Okay. We also have this message for you. It says, question for the guest. What's the plan to free Lagos from the stranglehold of IKEDC and AKDC? I think those are the transmission, the distribution companies, and TCN. This may be above you, the TCN one, because transmission company of Nigeria, and the GENCOs. How does Lagos become independent of the national grid?
Okay, so we deal with Sonny's and then we come back to
yes.
So as I was
which
saying,
one is that again?
That basically
answer the two and right. Because the calls and the messages are
okay. I'll speak as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So really and truly, the area boys have become something that's almost the number one complaint that I've been getting everywhere that I've been consulting. And we will deal with it. It's not something that is sustainable. But I will say this, it may sound a bit controversial. Even these guys are victims because the persons that are using them have conditioned them that way. Some of them are drugged out of their minds. They actually need even to be looked at in terms of mental health. You mentioned earlier about vocational training. These guys from the age of early teens up to now in their adulthood, they have no skills whatsoever. They were designed not to have skills. So they have nothing else that they can do. So it is important that as we seek to plan to take them off the street. Now, it brings us back to the issue around local government. Every local government is also responsible for coming up with those homes that take people off the street. So these are where it has to be in bite-sized chunks. That's why I say a state cannot oversee everything. There's a design that is meant to look after all of these things. So whether it's a mental home, whether it's a hostel type of home, these people need to be taken off the street. They need to be retrained, reorientated, socially re-engineered. There's a lot of work to be done around this phenomenon. Skilled, upskilled, given vocational training and all of that, and turned into different people and become useful, properly useful to society. The one about the electricity and so forth, there's a bill that's doing the rounds, and there's a thing going around different countries, different states. Once the houses in the states accept to back the bill to allow
the constitutional amendment bills
yes.
now
yes.
passing, going through the 36 states legislatures. Okay, let's wrap it up with this WhatsApp message. It says, "Greetings, Mr. Gbola. I greet your guest this evening. I would like to inquire from your guest as to the realistic of his ambition. We all know that the chances of defeating the incumbent APC government is close to none. Hence, why is he not considering merging with other political parties to form a formidable force against the incumbent government?" From Yinka, and to also put some icing on Yinka's baked cake, the idea Yinka just threw into this thing. About 2 days ago, I was reading that 2 gubernatorial candidates in Lagos actually stepped down for Jandor. I guess, if we get some like you who are ideologically closer, it's not too late yet to say adios.
Yes, thanks. Good comment. As I did say, to me it boils down to our values. If our values are conjoining, hey, why not? It's very, very important that we must all be value-based and value-driven. I did say that the established parties are what got us into the mess that we are in. I don't share the same values as them. I'm not going to do something that is following somebody else's values, So to that extent, it is not about the aspect of, okay, what are we going to share? All right, because then that defeats the whole purpose of saying, I did say to you that I'm a contented individual. So at the end of the day, really, this is about the people. You've heard all this about, the area boy syndrome is not something that started just 8 years ago or whatever. It's been there since we've had this dispensation. So the guys who are working this establishment type of politics are the guys who are similarly still trying to carry on with the same mindset. I'm from a different mindset, a different ilk. I've demonstrated that when I left the former ship.
We really have to hold it at this juncture. Interesting, engaging. When you chatting with somebody who is intellectually robust, you want it to go on forever. But you know what? Our radio has what they call deadline. This is where we wrap it for today. We want to thank our listeners for being part of the show. We want to thank our guests. And the show, as usual, was produced today by Yray Ofigo. His website is akinbraithwaite.com. akinbraithwaite.com. Instagram akinbraithwaite. You want to do this yourself?
Oh, okay.
Quickly. Let's quickly.
Website akinbraithwaite.com. Instagram akinbraithwaite World, and Twitter akinbraithwaite @akinbraithwaite.
Thank you very much. Thank you, listeners. Bye.
And discover what you can do right now.
All the youths in Nigeria, let me assure you that no matter what you are going through, the future is bright. You are the future. You have the power to create the future.